Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Debbie and I read so many books, it's ridiculous, but I just love reading and I love escaping into a brand new world and the movie that is created in my mind when I read books. Today's book is Heartbound by Colleen Hoover. I've read a couple of Colleen Hoover books and there's just something about the way that she writes that kind of just has me intrigued and pulled in. This feels quite different to the other books I've read, mainly because it's more teen-based. I'll get in with the blurb and let's discuss it. After a childhood filled with poverty and neglect, Bea Grimm finally has her hard-earned ticket out of Kentucky with a full ride to Penn State. But 2 months before she's finally free to change her life for the better, an unexpected death leaves her homeless and forced to spend the remainder of her summer in Texas with a father she barely knows. Devastated and anxious for the summer to go by quickly, Bea has no time or patience for Samson, the wealthy, brooding guy next door. Yet the connection between them is too intense to ignore. But with their upcoming future sending them to opposite ends of the country, the two decide to maintain only a casual summer fling. Too bad neither has any idea that a rip current is about to drag both their hearts out to sea. This is 368 pages in general fiction, romance and contemporary. There's kind of a bit of like abuse and child neglect in regards to Bea's family situation. Her mother at the beginning of the book is an alcoholic and a drug addict, and there is also talks about eating disorders and yeah, there's a lot more to it than what you think. It does say target audience adults, but it's done from a teenager's point of view. She's like 18, 19, and so I think that it could go into young adult. So yeah, at the beginning of the book you meet Bea, and I was so happy when I was pronouncing her name right, because it's Beyah. There's a point when Bea actually has to remind somebody how to pronounce her name. So there's somebody who calls her Bea, and so she's like, no, it's Bay, as in like, think of it as B-A-Y rather than E-Y, because it's Bea, and I was just like, yes, I was pronouncing it right. When you meet Bea at the beginning of the book, she's just come home from work. She works at a fast food restaurant, and she comes home and you get the backstory about some of her childhood and the fact that she was the result of pretty much a one-night stand, and that she hasn't really had any contact with her father. Her father tries to be there and sends money, but she hasn't actually seen any money come her way for a good few years, which you do later find out that her mum was basically stealing, which, to be honest, I thought that pretty much straight away. As soon as you hear that he hadn't been sending money, it was just like, has he not been sending money, or has the mother just been stealing it to fuel her drug habit? Which, you know, it's implied pretty much straight away. You just get a confirmation a little bit further down the road that that's what's happened. Bea is basically in the position of thinking, oh, my father doesn't care about me. Never once does it actually cross her mind that her mother might have stolen the money that her father's been sending. In that sense, you as a reader feel like you're a bit of ahead of Bea. But again, she's a teenager, you know, she's essentially living in poverty. She barely knows where her next meal's coming from. And yeah, she comes home from work and she finds her mother dead on the sofa with a needle in her arm. It's horrible, and that's the point when she's just like, I don't know what to do. Maybe I can stick it out at work, earn a little bit of money, and eventually find somewhere else. But then that night, when her mother is taken away, the landlord comes over that night and says, I don't rent to teenagers, you need to get out. And she's just like, wait, what? And he's going, no, I don't rent to teenagers, you got a week to get out. And she's just there going, can't I just have a couple of months? You know, I'm 19. I've got pretty much no other family. Like, what do you expect to do? It's a completely heartless guy, is the landlord. And just pretty much straight away, she goes to somebody that she knows and says, can I borrow your phone? At which point, she calls her father, who she hasn't spoken to or heard from in years, and says, can I come stay with you for the summer? And he's just like, sure, when do you want to come out? And she's just there going, can I come tomorrow? And he basically just buys a one-way ticket for her to go to Texas, where he's now living with his new family, with his wife and his kids. And yeah, so Bea hops on a plane to go to Texas to go spend the summer at her dad's family's summer house. And it's all just one thing after another, really. And so she's straight away meeting family that she didn't even know existed is Bea. Because she's there going, oh wait, you're married and you've got a kid, like when did this happen? Like she remembers getting an invitation to the wedding, but it never really clicked into place what was happening. And on the ferry over to the summer house, Bea gets out of the car. She's never been on a ferry before, and she's just there going, can I get out of the car? And her dad's like, yeah, you can get out of the car. There's like a deck upstairs where you've got about 15 minutes until we'll be like docking, so if you want to go up and have a look at the sea and look at the surrounding stuff, you're very welcome to do that. So she gets out of the car, she goes upstairs, and she finds some bread. She just finds a loaf of bread on the floor. And at this point she realises she hasn't eaten in like 2 days. So she just like, she looks around, makes sure nobody's watching, and she gets some bread out of this just discarded thing. And she eats it. And then, once she's eaten it, she looks up and she realises somebody's been watching her. There's a guy with a camera who has been taking pictures of her. And she's just there going, oh God. Somebody's just caught me, like essentially foraging for food out of like the trash. It's not actually the trash, but it's just something that's been discarded just on the deck from where they've been like feeding the birds or something. And she's like, oh God, no. You know, it seems like this is going to be like a very like small community. So I feel like it's going to get out very quickly that there's like a homeless girl on her way over. And she then finds out that the guy who took the photos is the best friend of her sister's boyfriend. Well, half-sister, because they've got the same dad. She's already in that place of already feeling so different, and then she's thrown into a family she doesn't know, with people who she thinks has made a complete prejudgment of her. And yeah, it turns out that the person who took the photos of her is a boy called Samson, who lives next door in the empty house to her family's house. He claims his family has about 5 different places and he just stays in the one that isn't being rented out. He's very closed off, he doesn't really talk about his family, but there's just something about Samson that Bea is drawn to. And they have a summer romance. And throughout the book you're looking at her relationship with Samson, you're looking at the relationship with her sister, where some of the disordered eating comes up, because her sister Sarah looks at Bea and goes, oh, how do you get so skinny? And Bea's there going, please do not compare yourself to me, you know, I am literally starving, because I've just had a completely different childhood to what you think I've had. And I really liked the bonding between the sisters, because you almost get the idea it's going to be like the evil sister that nobody knows anything about. But after having a conversation with each other, where Bea says, do not compare yourself to me, I am severely underweight and I actually want to gain weight while I am here. And her sister admits to being a size 12 and was just there going, I want to lose weight. And there's just Bea going, please, just don't compare your eating habits to mine. Enjoy the food that you've got in front of you. And so they both help each other, because obviously Bea wants to gain weight, and Sarah is at a point where originally she compares herself to Bea and then she realises, no, there's absolutely no need for this. And so Sarah then has her moment of going, actually, I'm just going to eat whatever the hell I want. And it's just a really, really nice friendship to see developing between these two sisters. There are points throughout the story where Bea admits to originally comparing Sarah to some of the girls that she knew at school, the cheerleaders and just the snobby kids, the rich snobby kids. And then, after one night of getting to know each other, and she's like, oh, this isn't, just as I didn't want anybody to prejudge me, I should not be prejudging these people who are now my family. And yeah, just seeing the family that Bea has compared to the childhood that she had with her mother. Yeah, it's just the stark differences between the abuse she received in regards to her mother's neglect, and then seeing the supportive family that she's getting out of her father's family. And it's, yeah, you've just got like chalk and cheese type thing, because her mother was the chalk and her new family are the cheese. And yeah, I found it a really, really empowering story about how you just shouldn't judge people before you know them, because Bay is scared that that's what's going to happen to her, and she does it initially to her family until she realises, oh, actually no, I completely missed the mark here. And then it also comes with Samson, because you realise that not everything he's saying is the complete truth. You understand why Bayer is just so protective, and you start to realise why she is so attracted to Samson, and they talk about kind of like shared darkness between each other. The title Heartbones comes from a conversation that they have where they're saying about how you can't have a broken heart because there's not a bone in the heart, there's nothing to break. And then when they realise they're kind of falling for each other, just like, oh, I think I've actually grown a bone in my heart because I can feel like it's going to break at the end of this summer when we have to say goodbye to each other. So it's cheesy, but I think anybody who's had like a heartbreak can identify with that. So yeah, it's a very powerful, moving story, and I'll admit I was very happy when I realised I was pronouncing Bayer right from the beginning, because it does actually take a while to actually find out what her name is, because I remember reading it at the beginning of the book and thinking, wait, I don't know this character's name, have I been told it yet? And it was just like, no I haven't. So it does take a little bit for you to actually find her name out, and I think it's when she's about to be evicted that we finally find her name. And she's there going, no, it's Bayer, not Beer. But yeah, I thought it was a really powerful story, and I'll pop it up there as maybe a top 10 favourites. But I feel like it's a nice, moving story that you can get your teeth into. And to be honest, I felt like it felt quick. I mean, it's not that long anyway, at 368 pages. Like, I've read longer books, but I've also read shorter books. Yeah, I found it easy to read, and just looking at that relationship between Bayer and Samson, and for me the real heart of the story just came from the relationship Bayer developed with her new family. I really, really liked that aspect, and I just adored the friendship that she created with her sister. I really, really enjoyed that part. So it's obvious from the beginning that Sarah wants to have a sister, and she wants to be friends with her sister, but I think because of Bayer's history, she's just very withdrawn, and I think it's partly that she doesn't want to get hurt, and so she puts a bit of a protectiveness around herself, and just thinking, right, I'm ready to like protect myself if this all goes horribly wrong. But yeah, Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. I haven't even shown you the front cover yet. It's the #1 Sunday Times best-selling author of It Ends With Us, and yeah, that makes it look like I haven't read it, but I have. It just means that's the next time it's available to read. Now I've read the book and I understand the significance of the front cover. I almost want to say what the front cover is, but I don't want to spoil it. I'll just say that the front cover applies to both Bayer and Samson. The pinwheel is Bayer, and I'm not going to tell you what the bit behind it is, but the bit behind it is Samson. Yeah. There's a tagline that says, moving, passionate and unforgettable, this novel from Colleen Hoover follows two young adults from completely different backgrounds embarking on a tentative romance, unaware of what the future holds. I must admit, it's got a bit of a white lie in there. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you next time with another video. Mwah! Stay safe, everybody. Love you all. Bye!